Hi everybody, very welcome to a very spontaneous live stream here on the Mentour channel. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. Now, you might wonder why I am going live here on a Thursday evening at 11 o'clock, and the answer to that is I don't really know, to be honest. I've told you this before. If you're a subscriber to the channel and you've highlighted the little notification bell, you do that for one of the reasons that I might do these kind of things, because I was sitting having a lovely time with my wife. She decided to go to bed early, and I decided I wasn't ready yet. So what's better to do than to go out and maybe, answer a few questions from you guys? That's my thinking anyway. And this is what I'm for. I'm here to answer your questions and to speak aviation with you guys. And if I have a couple of minutes over to do that between preparing for my next video, which is, by the way, going to be awesome. It's coming out tomorrow, and it's turning out really, really fine. Well, then that's what I will do. So I can see already that we have a few people here, and the Flare channel is saying my first time. Well, I hope that you're going to enjoy it. The way that this works, guys, if it is your first time here, is that generally speaking, I go out and I tell people that I'm going to do one of these live streams way ahead, which means that there's going to be hundreds of people here. Now, since I'm doing this, there might be a little bit fewer people, which means I might be able to answer some questions directly from the normal chat. Now, if you want to have your question highlighted, then you can use the little dollar sign below the chat. That's a super chat function. It means that you are providing a little bit. Well, you're paying a little bit to get your question highlighted. It's going to send some money to me, and I'm really grateful for that support. And I promise that I always going to answer all of the super chat questions. But right now, there's only about 200 of you here, so I'm going to try to answer some questions from the normal chat while more people kind of start turning up. So this is a nice surprise from Natalie Olson. Well, I'm glad that you think so. Like I said, I love coming with surprises now and then. If I could put some spontaneous videos out or live streams or whatever to make your life a little bit more fun, well, then that's what I will do. So, Nisha Gupta is asking, should I start my flying in COVID times? Now, this is a great question, okay? And obviously, I'm getting this question a lot. And there's no clear answer to that, because, to be honest, we don't really know what's going on with this COVID. The only thing I can say is that it is ravaging the airline business at the moment. I am on furlough now for the rest of the winter, as it looks, for the next 6 months at least. A lot of my friends have lost their jobs. There are thousands of pilots that's going out into unemployment, and those pilots obviously they're going to start looking for jobs and try to get whatever jobs there is. So there's going to be a lot of turbulence in the business for the coming 2 years. Now, the way that I normally think about these things is that it's during the downturns that you are supposed to be training for when it starts turning up again. And I do believe, and I really believe this, that this will happen this time as well. Now, granted, this is a much bigger downturn than I have ever seen and than most people have ever seen during their career. So it might take a little bit longer than maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, but we will get back again. Like, the aviation business will bounce back again. People are going to continue to travel. It might look a little bit different, and there might be other players in there. There might be other airlines that will be coming out of this stronger and healthier than they were before, believe it or not. But the answer to your question is that you have to look into your own finances. You have to look into what your own situation is, and this is really why, or really what you want to do. And if the answer to that is yes, then of course you should be going for it. All right? But do a very thorough financial kind of calculation before you start doing your training. Think about things like, can I stand without a job for a while after my training? Calculate on a minimum of 6 months after you finish your training, and probably calculate for a year as well of continuous job searching. And if that's something that you can do, great, go for it. But this is also, and I know I've been talking about the Airline Pilot Club, which is my and Andy's little brainchild that we're about to start now, right? I know I keep saying that we're about to launch it, but we are definitely about to launch it now, okay? And people will be asking, so why are you doing that? Why would you start up something that helps people through training in times like this? And the answer lies in that. It is to help. All right, we want to really be there to first give you the kind of guidance that you need through the indicative assessment, whether or not you have the aptitude and the attitude to actually do this job in the first place. That's really important to know. So you'll be able to get that, and then we will be able to use whatever comes out of the indicative assessment to show you how to improve towards, you know, the really important core competences that you need as an airline pilot. And then after that, we will be guiding you, helping you, guide you to schools that we have actually checked out. So you know how you guys always ask me, which school should I go to? Can I go to this school? Should I go to that school? And I've always been very reluctant in answering that, for the simple reason that it's very hard for me to sit here without going in and actually doing a proper check of every single school that you're asking about and telling you, yeah, that seems good. No, that doesn't seem good. But with the Airline Pilot Club, that's exactly what we've done. We've sent out a team of assessors to the schools that we have. And they have been able to go through the schools and say, yes, this is actually a good flight school. This is a school that you can trust. They have good syllabi, they have good instructors, and they're good at what they do. So now, finally, when you ask me, which school should I go to? I'm going to say, well, we have these schools, they're members, and they're checked out by the Airline Pilot Club. And if you're a member, we will be able to give you all of this information. So, like, this is what what we are trying to do. We were trying to give some really good guidance to you guys, without sitting here and guessing, because that's never going to help. You know, me saying that, yeah, that school looks fine. It's not great. It's not professional. And if I'm going to give advice to anyone, I have to be able to back it up with facts. That's really important. That's important in my job, for what I do as an airline pilot, but it's also important in my job as an influencer, actually, to be able to tell you guys that, yeah, this is good and that's less good. All right, cool. So there are starting to pop up some super chat questions here. I'm going to get to them in a second. I'm just going to take another few questions from the normal chat, which I promised to do. There's some hälsing from Tromsø. Hälsningar från Spanien här. Can I get a shout out to the Aviation Awesomeness channel? Yes, there is your shout out to the Aviation Awesomeness channel. So, is your airline getting the 737 MAX? Well, first of all, the 737 MAX still is awaiting recertification. So, at the moment, we have to wait and see. But yes, the airline that I'm working for have several 737 MAX in. Let's see, I'm just going to fix this. Why this keeps changing in size all the time. There we go. Anyway, yes, so we have several 737 Maxes in order, and yes, I really am looking forward now to start flying the beast. Okay, I know a lot of people think that it's weird and I'm saying that, but it's absolutely true. Like, when this aircraft has gone through this grueling recertification process that they're looking into right now, this is going to be the safest aircraft in the skies. Like, that is just going to be a fact, because there's not a single screw that hasn't been scrutinized. There's not a single system that hasn't been reevaluated on this aircraft. So it's going to be a really, really good, safe aircraft to fly, and it's very efficient. That's why the airlines chose to buy it in the first place. So yeah, I'm hoping that that's going to be the case, and that's going to be the case soon. Robert Kralovic, YouTube, no notification. Yeah, I think the notification is a little bit behind. That's because I chose to, like, literally 10 minutes ago, I was still in the sofa, and then I decided to put this up. So I think that notifications will be coming. I'm not expecting to get as many viewers on this as my normal live streams, but I really wanted to just reach out to you guys and, have a spontaneous chat, because, I enjoy doing that, basically. Okay, let's see. Make sure that I'm not missing any of the super chat here questions. Just give me 1 second there, guys. So Shay72 is the first one of the super chat question, and thank you for your support, Shay. Can you explain slip angle and how it affects flight? Well, I'm not exactly. You're gonna have to tell me a little bit. I mean, there's a couple of, like, when I talk about slip angle. Well, when I talk about slip, it is when the aircraft is actually kind of, how you normally fly this way, and if you put a little bit of rudder in and put a little bit of aileron in against it, you can kind of slip the aircraft which means that you hold up a little bit of angle towards the wind. You continue flying straight ahead. This is a technique that you can do, especially when you're flying smaller aircraft, when you're flying in crosswind. So it's a slip and skid maneuver. We don't utilize that in like transport category aircraft, and the reason for that is because if you're in a slip, if you're in a side slip as we call it, with opposite or aileron to rudder, you will cause vortexes to come off the main body, and that those vortexes can go into the engine on that side, and you could actually cause engine surges, engine stalls, which would be potentially very, very bad if you're in a slip, like in a slip angle. So this is why we intend to never do that. We don't use it to lose altitude, which is what it's normally used for in smaller aircraft, and we basically never do it. But how it affects flight, that's it. If you're sitting with opposite rudder to aileron, so if you're sitting with left aileron, right rudder, for example, and you're coming down like this, you're basically turning the aircraft partially in towards the wind. You're causing a lot more drag, which means that you'll be able to descend very, very quickly without gaining any speed. So it's kind of a poor man's speed brake, if that's the easy way of looking at it. But once again, transport category aircraft, we do not do that. And I hope that that answers your question. Jake Schroeder, great to have you here, Jake. It's so lovely to see some of these names that keeps popping up that's here on almost all of my live streams. Jake, what is something about aviation you wish more people knew or understood? Like, one of the reasons that I've started this YouTube channel was to satisfy one of those things, and that is to understand the rigorous safety thinking, the attitude, the safety kind of management that we have in every single thing that we do. Because I do get, and I continuously get, whenever something happens in the aviation world and the media starts working it, you get a feeling that some things happens in random. And of course, there are random events, like there's stuff happening that we can't control. But inside of the industry and the way that we work, the way we work with checklists, the way that we work with manuals, the way that we work through the organization down through all of the crew and including all parts of the chain, there's nothing random with that. Everything is done by design. Everything builds on experience that we've gotten sometimes through incidents and accidents, which is one of the reasons I've started my incidents and accidents series, which, by the way, will continue tomorrow. So that's something that I really want people to understand, that we do things really in a very, very controlled way, and everything has its proper kind of sequence. So yeah, that's one thing, definitely. I want people to start understanding that, and I want people to look at incidents and accidents that do happen from a slightly different light. Apart from that, like I'm just happy to be able to kind of share the happiness that you can get in this industry if you're lucky enough and you get into a good airline that can support your way of life. That was another reason I started the channel. By the way, I was out opening up internet forums everywhere, and everything that I could find was just negative. It was just, people complaining. And what I understood was that this was back in 2015 now, that most internet forums for pilots were only a place where people went to vent their frustration. And the people that were happy, they never went to these forums. They were out playing golf or spending time with their friends or barbecuing or flying light aircraft or stuff like that. So I wanted to show that there is actually a side of the industry which is really, really positive, and that people should, like, especially you guys, if you're interested in coming into the aviation business, that you can get there. Now, granted, where we are right now in the current crisis, it's a little bit different. Now, I'm seeing widespread, I wouldn't say discontent, but almost panic. And it has to do with the fact that people have been reliant on an income, and all of a sudden this pandemic comes and completely shuts down the whole industry, and people lose their jobs, and in most cases these are jobs that they've been working on maybe throughout, like me, for several decades. And then people start asking themselves, what else can I do? If I'm being furloughed now for 6 months, how do I support my family? And in a lot of cases, these families like mine, for example, and a lot of other pilot families, the husband or wife of the pilot maybe doesn't work because you have a family. And as a pilot, you work nights and you work mornings. And because of that, it's hard to kind of adapt a second job to that job. And because the income has been really good, there hasn't been a real need. But of course, something like this happens. All of a sudden, you sit with one income, that income disappears. What happens then? Because all of your outgoings are, of course, the same. And there's a lesson here, guys. There's a huge lesson for you if you're getting into this industry. And it's something that we have been talking about a lot before, but it's worth pushing again, is that it's good to have a backup plan. Like, it's good to have a degree of some sort, or have studied something else maybe, or done something else in your life before you get into the aviation industry, because then you'll have something to kind of, jump back onto, and you have an out. Okay, so that's one thing. So some kind of a degree or some kind of other life experience, be it working in McDonald's or working like I did as an airport firefighter or as an insurance salesman, or whatever it might be. It's good to have that. It also gives you a lot of respect for the good things that you'll get inside of the industry if you have something to compare to. Anyway, that's one thing. The other thing is, give yourself a proper margin, a financial margin. And what I mean by that is that in this industry, once you come in and you've kind of scrolled back up on top of your debts or whatever you have from your training, then start building up a buffer. Do not go out and buy that Porsche. All right? Do not do that until you've built a buffer. Now, I know I have a Porsche, but that was after 12 or 13 years in this industry that I bought my first real sports car, because I felt then that I could motivate it. But that's not something that you want to do as a first officer in debt. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a buffer of at least 8 months, guys. At least 8 months. And what that means is that you have a buffer to cover all of your expenses for at least 8 months. Because what happens then is that something like this happens, or you end up in a company that maybe have a bankruptcy. That happens from now and then. You'll notice that even in a good economy, some airlines go bust and some airlines appears. That's just the normal way of things in this industry. But if you end up in a company where you lose your job because of bankruptcy, if you are kind of up to here in debt, well, then you will automatically start making bad decisions because of time pressure. But if you have 8 months that sitting there in the bank, you can start using them. Well, then you can sit back, you can take a few deep breaths. You can be sad for a few days, but don't allow you more than that. Just a day or two of being sad, and then you can start kind of looking at what you are going to do. And you can have some time to send out your resumes, talk to your family, see how you're going to arrange your life. Time is like your ultimate fuel, right? It's like your reserve fuel. So you need money as your life reserve fuel. And that's something that I really want. If you're watching this now and you're listening to me for this is something, and this doesn't only go for aviation, it goes for everything. It goes for everyone in every line of work. Give yourself some reserve fuel, all right? Keep that. If you keep it in a bank account or if you keep it in the stock market, but in a safe way, doesn't matter. But you need to have it there. And do not go in and tap into that. Keep that reserve fuel. You know how when we fly, we have our final reserve fuel, which is 30 minutes of flying time that we never ever are allowed to use, right? Those 30 minutes, if you start touching them, it's an automatic mayday. If you see that you're going to touch it, it's an automatic mayday. And that's because that is the way that aviation works. They have 30 minutes of fuel, of you being able to fly for 30 minutes, that we never, ever, ever touch. And this is the kind of money that you guys should have as well. That's me going out on a tangent, but that's why I love doing these live streams, because I can sit here and I can talk for ages, and you guys, you just have to listen. Suntech, given the passenger numbers are down due to COVID-19, would it be that there would be an uptake in air freight traffic with airlines switching to moving cargo rather than passengers? Oh yes, absolutely, especially the long haul guys. The long haul airlines, they're doing loads of things that they never thought that they ever would. They're ripping out parts of the shares out of their passenger aircraft, and they're using that for cargo. They're getting recertified to use cargo in seats. They're using basically everything they can to make a buck. Like the revenue streams, to get positive revenue streams right now is more important than ever. Okay, there's two parts to this. Either, well, both you have to do. You have to cut your costs. And this is what you're seeing when you see that all terms and conditions, salaries and stuff are going down, right? Cutting costs. Cutting personnel is what they're doing as well in order to kind of preserve cash as much as possible. Then on the other side, they need to increase the revenue streams. And if you have a long haul company where you have the possibility to carry cargo, you've noticed now, and obviously, that Amazon is doing better than ever. They're sending loads and loads of stuff, and they have their own airline, but they can't do everything themselves. So the amount of air freight is going up. And also during the downturn, during the lockdown, what people don't understood maybe is that normal passenger aircraft carry a lot of freight. Like they do passenger traffic, but they also carry loads and loads of freight. So when the passenger airlines stopped flying, well then a huge amount of the freight capacity went away. So what happens when you have a lack of something, you know, supply and demand, all of a sudden there was no supply, the demand was still there, so the prices went up. So the freight prices, the air freight prices actually went up a lot. And that's still happening. It's not to the same high point, but it's still fairly good, which means that the airlines can make money on that. So yes, it's a great observation, and yes, it is happening. And things 1643 went in to say to leave a like. Well, we do like that. Thank you very much. Are you flying yet? From Ian Gill. I was flying, so so I came back in July. I've been flying a little bit in July, a little bit in August, very little in September, and now from today my base is closed. Okay, it's closed for the winter, and that's because no forward bookings. There was no passengers flying. There's no possibility for them to fly. So right now we're looking into different alternatives, but as it looks for now, I won't be flying for the next 6 months. I might be able to come in and do the odd flight in order to keep my currency, but to be perfectly honest, I like right now it's a matter of survival for a lot of people. It's a matter of keeping their financial stability up. And because I am in an extremely fortunate position where I have a relatively successful YouTube channel, thanks to you guys. I have a Facebook page that is becoming bigger and bigger every day. I have my fantastic Patreon crew that is giving me a financial kind of stability that I know that I can count on every month. And guys, if you are my patrons and you're watching this, I know I keep saying it, but I do want to emphasize that I'm really, really grateful, and my wife is as well, because I'm in a position like that, and because there's many, very, very little flight, but there are some flights happening. I actually prefer, and I have chosen to sit on the ground and let those flights be flown by others, so that the guys that do not have a YouTube channel and do not have the secondary income that I do get to fly. So that's what I'm doing. So even though I could probably try to push it a little bit more, see if I can get some flights, I consider myself lucky enough to not have to, and I give those flights to other people. Let people fly as much as possible, and then we'll see. When the flying picks up again, then I am really looking forward to get back again. But up until then, I will be here answering questions. I'll be working hard on the Airline Pilot Club when we open up to provide support to our members. I will be creating a lot of content. I will be creating. I'm going to maybe try to get 2 videos out a week rather than 1. But I also am working on doing some courses for my website, for mentorpilot.com, because I'm looking into doing all kinds of sort of courses, including fear of flying course, but also maybe some kind of video courses for how to do Cat 3 approaches, how to do non-precision approaches, maybe even a virtual type rating on the 737, things like that I would love to be able to do. That's what I'm going to focus on now and see if it works. This is a completely new world for me, where where I have to take the leap and try it out. But definitely, I'm looking around and I see a lot of my colleagues struggling, and I'm not going to take hours away from them, even though I would, I love flying. I really, really do. But this is not the time. But thanks for asking, Ian. So the answer to that question was yes, I'm back flying, and no, I'm off flying again. This year does not get any better, that's for sure. Fredrik Johansson. Tjena Fredrik. When I got my license in northern Sweden, my CFI owned a plane that was used in training in Sweden. I always wondered if you also fly that. Sierra Echo Lima Kilo Oscar. Lima Kilo Oscar. Kilo Oscar. Is it this? It's not. Did I fly Lima Kilo Oscar? No, I haven't flown Sierra Lima Kilo Oscar. I had to think because during training, and that was like 20 years ago. India Foxtrot Lima, Sierra Echo India Foxtrot Lima is a Cessna 172 that my dad's flight instructor, who's also up in northern Sweden, was flying with. I mean, so that the India Fox Lima was the first aircraft I think I ever set my foot in, and that's the one that I flew on my 14th birthday as well. And then we had Golf Lima Hotel, Sierra Echo Golf Lima Hotel, which is a Piper PA-28, which I flew as well up there in Örnsköldsvik. I think they're still using that in the club. And then I had loads of aircraft down when I was in OSM Flight Academy down in Västerås. But no, that one I haven't flown. Great question though, it brings back loads of memories. Daniel, hello mentor, do you think the recertification of the 737 MAX, they have to try to recreate the situations of the crashes during testings in air, like what happened to Lion Air and the Ethiopians? Yes, I'm absolutely 100% sure that they have been checking those. I'm not sure if they do it in the air, if they've done it in the simulators, quite sure that they've done both. But it's the individual failures, like the angle of attack issues. They have you can be absolutely sure that they've tested that in every single way possible, in every single scenario that is possible. So, like, I'm not worried about that, not at all. Wide World Wes, hi Pet, hi Wes. That's once again another name that I recognize. Hi Petter, hope you and your family are doing well. Have you thought about doing some general aviation flying during this downtime? Yeah, I actually have. I have been thinking about taking it up because I've actually lost my single pilot rating. You need to have your single pilot rating as well, but if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So I need to pick it up, which means that I need to go to a flight school, I need to do several lessons, and then I need to do an actual skill test in order to pick it up. But it would be something that I would love to do, maybe together with you guys. As in, get a cameraman, talk to a flight school. I know a few that I really, really like. And then go and do that together with them. Give them some publicity, give me my single pilot rating back, and show you how it's done, and also show you some really terrible landings, most likely. So I would love to do that. But like you see, it's not like I'm going to be lacking things to do during this downtime. There's literally thousands of things that I would love to do together with you guys. And really, there's no limit. Anything is possible. I would love to hear from you guys what you want to see, and also what do you guys think about the accident investigation or the accident investigation? It's not really an investigation. It's more me talking about the final report of accidents and incidents. But what do you like? Do you like the series? Let me know in the normal chat here. Is it something that I should be continuing to do? And also, please let me know if there's anything else that you think that I should be doing. Like, should I do different things in the channel? Should I be growing it? Because I would love to grow it. All right. I know, I know that there's at least 1.3 million of you guys loving aviation out there, and I'd love to get more of you involved in the channel. So the only way I can do that is improve on the quality of what I do and make it more interesting. So hearing from you is really important, basically. I use my Patreon crew a lot for this, by the way. So once again, if you guys are interested, if you're not a patron and you want to become a patron, like preview my videos and have discussions about what I do on the channel and stuff like that, just go to patreon.com /mentorpilot and become a supporter. Everything is appreciated. You can stay for as long or for as short as you like. So people are saying, yes, we love it. Nice to see you up and about in this hour. Yeah, those are really good. Cool. Yes, continue. All right, great. I got the feeling that people liked it actually, because there's a lot of watch time on it. Generally speaking, like I get normally like 8-9 minutes of watch time on each video, but these ones people are watching for like 20 minutes. So that means that people think that it's interesting. So I'm going to continue doing that. There's definitely no like shortage of reports to look into. So more questions here. Judy Piculin, Piculin maybe. How come cameras are not used for emergency diagnostics? Check if an engine is on fire, if landing gear is down, which some accident pilots didn't see. Yeah, I know. This is a question that I've been asking a lot as well, and the answer is probably just certification, to be honest. Like, there is a lot of cheap, good, working cameras that can be used, but I don't think that, like, there's very, very few that has it. I know the Airbus 380 has a few of them. I know they use them, for example, for taxiing as well, because of the size of the aircraft. They have a screen, they can see how they're taxiing. They can use the passenger cameras that gives an overview of the whole aircraft, but there's no individual cameras on like each engine, for example, which could be done. And I don't have a good answer to that, rather than I know that would be considered if you put it in and it becomes a part of your procedure. So let's say that you have a checklist, a accurate checklist, and it says check camera 1 to verify fault. Whenever you have something like that, when you have a system that's integrated into the aircraft and it's being actually used for emergency use, not just for showing cool views of the passengers, then it needs to be certified, and it needs to go through grueling certification processes and fail safes and stuff like that. And I think that's probably the answer, that it hasn't been needed in that way. It would be helpful, but in most cases we rely on other system parameters to judge what the damage is. But I wouldn't mind. Like, it would definitely be good to be able to assess the damage. And in the episode that I'm doing for you tomorrow, guys, that would have been helpful, to say the least. Howie, hi. I can't come up with a good question today, but I still want to support you. Keep it up, Peter. Oh, Howie, that's so nice. Thank you very much, and thank you for your support. It's very, very generous, so thank you. It's great to hear, and it really warms my heart to hear from you guys and to hear those kind of things, to know that you guys are supporting what I do, because I'm working now. I'm at home annoying my poor wife who's trying to study to become a lawyer, and I'm just sitting at home with three. If you would see how this office actually looks, it's like me here in front of this iMac, and then I have two screens on each side, and I'm working all of them, and I have a fantastic team that's helping me out with the Facebook page and with the here doing like checking on the chat and a lot of other things. But it's a lot of work actually, and it's really nice to hear that you guys are appreciating it and that you enjoy it. Like, if not, I wouldn't be able to do this. Aviation Mayhem. Hi Petter. How much extra power do you get from engines taking off with passenger off? Well, you get the same power from the engines. With packs off, I mean the air conditioning packs, you get a couple of percentage points. So if I have the air conditioning packs on, then maybe my max would be, let's say with the normal D rate and I have the packs on, it's maybe 90%. And if I turn the packs off, it's like 91.5%. Like, we're talking, it's not a huge amount, right? You generally you'll be able to carry about 600 kilos more or something. It depends a little bit if you're runway limited or if you're obstacle limited in your takeoff performance, but around 600 kilos extra is what you can lift. But you have to remember that 600 kilos extra might be the difference between being able to carry people's bags or not. For example, there's been instances where bags have been left behind because of performance issues. So passengers can go, the bag stays behind, and then obviously they're going to be shipped later. But if you can avoid that by taking the air conditioning packs off and get that extra thrust out of the engines, then that's great. Henrik, say you get hired in a company where you fly 7 days on, 7 days off. Which country would you live in? I would sail here. The fact is that at this point in time, I have an 8-year-old boy and a 10-year-old boy. All right, they're in school, they have their friends here, they have their life here. And one thing that I've sworn to try to do is not to let my job work affect their life. So if I would have a work where I have to be away for a week and then be home for a week, well, that's what I would do. And in fact, I would probably not take a job where I couldn't have the flexibility to live where I want to do. I do not want to take my family, uproot them, move somewhere else, put them into school in a new environment, completely new environment, stay there for a few years, and then do the same. I would like them to feel like they have a stable and childhood, basically. Once that's done, when they're big enough to kind of take their own decisions and go to school themselves, whatever, then that might change. And me and my wife might choose to maybe, become a little bit more adventurous. But there's times in your life where you can do a lot of these things that generally tends to be in the beginning of your career and up to maybe in your 30s when maybe you have different girlfriends, maybe you're single for a long time, and you can become basically just take your suitcase and go. But then it comes a time where I am now, where being a stable family father is much more important. So that is what I'm trying to do. So, Xantec, would you consider switching to commercial truck driving? I actually have a friend, one of my best friends, who've done that. Right, he's still employed by his airline, but he's seeing the writing on the wall, as you can say. He sees that there's a high likelihood that he's going to lose his job. The airline might be struggling financially, or he might be very low down on his seniority list. I'm not going to say which one it is because I don't want to identify him. But anyway, he used the downtime when everyone was just sitting around to study to get his commercial truck driving license. And he is right now working because he's also furloughed. He's working driving trucks. He's been doing, I think, his first 2 weeks now. Like, you do what it takes to survive. You do what it takes to provide for your family. This is what resilience is all about. When you read about resilience, this is what it is. Like, you're being forced into a new situation that you've never seen before. How do you react? And then, do you become like a deer in the headlight that just stands there and things happen to you? Or do you look at what the problem is, look at what different roads you have to choose from, choose a road and execute that and go down it and just see what happens and then build on it, make it as good as humanly possible. That is what you have to do, both when you're flying but also in life. And it goes for you as well. Like, that's what I said. You're not allowed to get paralyzed. You're not allowed to sit and feel sorry for yourself for weeks. That doesn't work. Okay, life does not care. It continues. So you need to get your shit together, basically, and get going with what you're doing. So yes, I would do that, or I would do something else, or I would start up something. This is what I'm doing here. This YouTube adventure has gone from being a hobby of mine, which it was for many years, to now something that's actually supporting me and my family. And because of that, I also need to take it a little bit more seriously, and I need to work it a little bit more. So, guys, I hope, by the way, you, the 674 people who are watching this right now, I hope that you've checked out my Facebook page as well. Just search for Mentor Pilot. Okay, the Facebook page is a little bit different. I'm posting on there as well. I'm posting a lot of stuff from my Instagram feed, for example, and stories and things like that. But I also have a team that's helping me, and it's aimed a little bit more at doing a bit more funny stuff. A little bit more memes. There's a bit more compilations. There's things like that, and news as well. And something that would really help if you're following the Facebook page, and I really mean this, is that if you find a compilation or a meme or whatever that is funny, especially the videos, that you share them to, especially if you're part of aviation groups. There might be sim flyers, or there might be general people who are just interested in aviation in your country. Share it to those, because that makes a huge difference. It makes the page much more commercially viable as well. So by sharing, you're really helping, you're really supporting. It doesn't cost anything unless you annoy someone who kicks you out of the group, which you should not do. But I'm just telling you that if you want the support in a non-monetary way, that's a really, really effective way of doing it. And also, of course, like, I had the funniest story I heard the other day. One of my patrons was boarding a flight in the US, and he saw one of my t-shirts. So my patron saw another person wearing my merch, and I thought that was really cool. I was so wanted to know who that was, because that's the first kind of sighting in the wild that I've heard. It's the first time I've heard someone actually seeing someone wearing my merch. So if you guys come across another one wearing my t-shirt, maybe the Team Boeing or Team Airbus or Team Dispatcher or Team Flying Baguette, which I also have. That was my youngest son who wanted one of those. If you see one of those, and if you are wearing your merch, by the way, and you can take a picture together with someone else and tell me the story about it, I would love to hear it. I will definitely feature that. All right, I'll definitely do, because that is something that I just feel it's fascinating to that those kind of things happens. So that was also a long answer to a short question. Sorry about that, guys. Blue Sky Cadet, trying to spread financial costs. I'm considering doing all the PPL ground school before doing any flying. Many flight schools are offering discounts and online learning. Any thoughts on distance learning? Yeah, distance learning is becoming better and better. In fact, I think that if you're good at creating distance learning courses, now is probably the time to start, because someone, and mark my words, within the next years is going to be a billionaire by coming up with good, workable distance learning courses. They're becoming better and better all the time. Now, there is still requirements. I know that there have been discussions within EASA about maybe temporarily suspending the requirement of doing classroom courses as part of your training, but at the moment, I still think that you need to do a little bit of classroom training together with your remote training. But sure, like it's gonna require a lot from you. There's no question about that. I just watched my wife. She's doing her law degree remote, and she's been sitting there tearing her hair out because she didn't understand. There was one thing that, like, this, like, law tributeria that I'm going through now, I don't understand it. And this is where real kind of face-to-face interaction with teachers makes a huge difference. This is where, you come with a question, you ask me, and I can explain it by using something else, a metaphor or something. And if you have to read all of it yourself via online learning, you can come across these areas which is going to be hard to understand. And I mean, that's where it's going to take a lot from you. So just be aware of that. It's going to require maybe more effort on your behalf, but it's definitely doable. A lot of people have done it, and you can save a lot of money doing that way. So, go for it if you think that you can handle it. Most people know themselves if they are the kind of person that would handle that or not. But great for you, keep the costs low. It's something that I always recommend people to do. Evan W. Should I switch flight schools in order to finish CPL MIFR, so multi-engine IFR, in less than 6 months, opposed to 1 year where I am now? Is the shorter time worth the extra cash? No. Now that's an easy question. As long as you trust that your flight school is around, right now you're not in a rush. Like that is one thing that is absolutely sure. Right now, for the next 2 years, it's going to be hard to find a job. So you're definitely not in a rush to get your license ready right now. And you definitely don't want to increase your costs either. And there's another thing with this as well, and that is, generally speaking, airlines don't really like seeing a lot of different flight schools. Like, okay, you're doing it modular, great, but you don't want to have too many operators involved, because they're going to have to go down and try to find your training records. And if there's been a lot of jumps in between, that can make that more hard for them, can make it more difficult. So if you can, and if you like the school, and the only problem right now is because it takes a little bit more time, then actually that can be a good thing. Use that time to maybe take a job and earn some cash and reduce your cash flow. That's what I would do. right? I would definitely do not rush into the market right now, because it's very unlikely that you'll find a cadet job within the next 2 years. It's that's the rough, hard kind of truth to it. But after that, then I do definitely think that you will have a much bigger chance to get a job. I do think, especially if you're in Europe, that there's going to be a quite big upswing in the short to medium haul market. Some of the airlines in Europe are going to absolutely balloon in size. Some are going to disappear, but I think the overall is going to be a continuation of that curve that I showed you in my video about 6 months ago about what's happening to the airline industry. And the airline industry has been going up, 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 up all the time, and there's no reason to believe that that's going to stop. In fact, that's what I've been talking about, these hydrogen aircraft the last few episodes, because what I'm seeing is the aircraft manufacturers recognizing that travel will not stop. So if we are going to have some kind of positive climate impact, well, then we're going to have to just change technologies, and that's what they're doing. So that's what I think anyway. Maurizio Mariano, another name that I recognize. Hi Maurizio, I love the accident series. Keep flying, keep filming. Yeah, I can't keep flying, but I can keep filming, so definitely. Andromeda, I would love to see your take on November 559 Delta Whiskey. I have watched a lot of your videos, but haven't seen you ever discuss one of the famous industry accidents. Okay, I am going to be honest and say that I don't recognize that. It would be, I don't know exactly which incident that is. I'm sure I know if you talk about flight numbers or airline rather than the registration of the aircraft. But there's loads of incidents and accidents, guys. Now, I have, when it comes to those series, I have a little bit of a moral dilemma. Okay, I I know that there's a lot of people out there watching this channel because they're nervous flyers. Okay, and as nervous flyers, you don't really appreciate to only watch content about crashes and accidents. So far, I've been looking for the kind of positive examples where the crew have been doing a great job and they've saved the day. But eventually, I'm going to run out of those, and I'm going to run into the ones that actually have some serious loss of life in them. Uh, and when that happened, I still think that is an important story to tell, because most of the ones that I'm going to choose will be highlighting certain CRM problems or certain things that because of this accident have now become safer. All right, and almost every single one of these accidents that are out there that's happened have actually made the following flights, the following part of the aviation industry, a more safe industry to operate in. And you can highlight, like you can see the Helios accident, how we've had a new checklist after that. You can see some of the earlier fuel problems that happened in, or fuel accidents that happened in the United States, having led into the actual work on CRM and creating the CRM courses that we know and love today. So I'm going to go into that. I'm going to do that in a very, very careful way, in a very respectful way, but they will come eventually. And I'm not sure how the audience is going to react when I do so, but we shall see. Joshua McCloskey, Mentor. I was recently passing on the Airbus A321. During the cruise phase of flight, I noticed a very subtle oscillation in the roll axis. I was wondering what could cause this. Thanks. It's very hard. It depends. I mean, sometimes we get into areas of clear air turbulence, which is very soft, and that can cause a little bit of oscillations. Also, of course, you have the Dutch roll phenomenon. However, the yaw damper generally tends to make that almost not noticeable. But I think maybe if you are kind of really paying attention, maybe you can feel a little bit of the Dutch roll tendency as well. Hard to say. Without being there, it's very hard to say. You can be absolutely sure that there was nothing wrong, though. Okay, I see a lot of people asking about where I work. Now, I know I haven't said this in a while, so maybe it's time to do so. I have an agreement with my airline, and my airline has basically left me alone and let me do all kinds of aviation stories on this YouTube channel and whatever I do on social media. But they've said that please do not speak as a spokesperson for us. Do not let people think that you are speaking on behalf of us as a company. So avoid talking about us, avoid showing logos, avoid doing these things, and we will leave you alone, and that's kind of it. And I have the greatest respect for that, because it's very hard for an airline to control a YouTube channel like this. If I say something that's wrong, factually incorrect, or whatever, and it goes against them, that can cause some real problems. So I don't talk about my employer. Everyone kind of knows where I'm working anyway. It's not a secret. It's not something that I refuse to say. But in terms of me talking about them in social media, or even mentioning them on social media, I've really promised not to do that, and I won't. So that's kind of the reason behind this. There's nothing else. All right, it's just me showing respect to my employer for them, and them showing me respect as well. So that's why. Okay, so here at the tutorial is saying the November 559 Delta Whiskey is the incident where the pilot of a King Air suffered a fatal heart attack and the ATC instructor on the ground guided the passenger private pilot to land the plane. Ah, right. Alright, so that's interesting. Now this is something that I would love to do a video on, because obviously I've done a video, kind of an instruction video, how you could potentially land an airliner. I hope that you've had a chance to check that out. My next video I would like to do on that would be me sitting with like a mock-up of a 737 in a different room of the simulator, and try to speak to a passenger and see if I could actually coach them down. That would be really interesting, and I would love to take someone. I don't know if you can take someone from the street. It could be someone, maybe a flight attendant, someone who has a little bit of basic aviation knowledge, but who has no idea about how to fly, or has no idea about the 737, and see if it's doable. It would be really, really cool to do. Barry Bird, I'm a ground crew for a UK airline. Aviation is my passion and I love my job. But in these times, how long do you think I should stick it out for? Yeah, like I said, it's a little bit like asking how long is a rope. It depends. It I think a lot of the airlines had hoped that this would have sorted itself out now. I think most airlines have understood that it won't. I think that most of them are now hoping for some kind of normality coming back in summer 2021, and I'm sure doing that as well. I think that what we will see realistically is an uptick next summer, but nowhere close to the 2019 levels. But then 2022, we're going to see a perfectly normal summer, and then 23, 24 is where we're going to see the real kind of uptick in the industry, where the profits are coming back, where the hiring is coming back, where all of these things are coming back. So that gives you an idea of what I think we're looking for. I remember when I did that video about the airline business and if it would survive, I gave 3 different scenarios. The first one was a short term, which no one really believed in. The second one was a medium term, which I still believe in. And the third one was a long term, as in like 2024, 2025, which I also think is highly unlikely, especially for the short to medium haul market. Long haul market is going to take a bit longer, but I still believe that we're that we're on, providing that we get a vaccine out. I don't think that the vaccine is what's going to fix this. I think, and this is just me guessing now, killgissning, so that's it's called in Swedish. But I think that what's going to happen is that if a vaccine comes, the notion of the fact that there is a vaccine and the fact that we can vaccinate our, for example, first responders, the people working in the hospitals, is going to give a sense of safety and security, that we have control again. Even if you don't have the vaccine and I don't have the vaccine and we can still get sick with this thing, just knowing that there is a vaccine and that the first responders have it and that hospitals will work and that you could get it if needed, is going to elevate some of the fear. And when the fear is elevated, then you start seeing stuff happening very, very quickly. And there's going to be a pent-up demand for travel. All right, our whole generation, your generation, my generation, everyone is common. We've been used to being able to travel, to do stuff, to go and see our relatives and, experience new things. And we're still remembering this. Like, if this would take a decade, we wouldn't remember it, and then it could be gone. But after 1-2 years, you still remember it and you still yearn for it. So the first thing that the guys who have any money, because that's another thing. Obviously, the economy is going to have an effect on this, but people who have money, when the restrictions are lifted, and you see that, oh man, I can go to Thailand again, or I can go to the US, or I can go to Vegas, and I'm gonna go. You're gonna have a lot of pent out demand. It's going to suddenly be a rush for air travel again, and this is something that I think will happen. But like I said, that's you're going to need the vaccine. It's going to need another 3-4 months or so where you see that it's working and it's proving effective, and then you're going to see that happening. That's my guess anyway. Okay, cool. So MVF76, thank you for your support. I don't know if you had a question. It didn't come through in that case. As always, and you guys, I hope that you all have the Mentour Aviation app by now. It's completely free. If you go to the Mentour Aviation app and you go to settings, there is a support submit feedback there. That will send me an email. So that's supposed to be used if you see something wrong with the app, or if you see some improvement needed. But if you have sent a super chat question and it didn't come through, you can use it for that as well. And I'm going to try to answer you in text form. Okay? And I'm starting to lose my voice now. Actually, I'm going to get myself some Smiths. Not sponsored, by the way. If you're out there and you work for Smiths, I could be. So Natalie Olson. Hello again, Natalie. I love the accident series. I've found that hearing how these accidents have happened makes it all make sense. Yeah, it is. It's fascinating, and the fact is, I actually recommend anyone to go in and read these reports, the final reports. They're big documents, like the one that I'm going to talk about tomorrow. The accident report that I've just flown through is 300 pages. Right, but it's only the first 100 pages or so that are really important. And as you can see, this is my script for tomorrow. These are the little notes that I have from for my video. But there's loads and loads of great information in there. And you'll never get that information if you just look at air crash investigations or second from disaster, stuff like that. You just won't, because they can't cram that in. So anyone who has a little bit of technical interest, if you just go to Wikipedia and you look at any accident, any aircraft accidents out there, if you go down to sources in Wikipedia, there will be the accident report there. It will say final report or something similar. Open it up and read it through. It's really, really interesting. And of course, what I'm hoping to be able to do, and what I'm trying to do, is to try to break out the because there's a lot of text in there. There's a lot of like oversight text, and the FAA did this under the inspector should have done that, which you don't necessarily care about. But I can read that through, and I can then distill down the really important bits from that and give it to you. At least my version of it. Once again, it's going to be my version of it, but it's based on the facts that's written in there. So that's the kind of service that I'm trying to do, to give you a little bit more details, a little bit more meat on the bone on each one of these incidents. The Nuke Warfare 2, thank you very much. Once again, if you had a question, then use the app. Al King of Persia, cool, thank you for the smiley. Max, so you planning to do another video with Kelsey, 74 gear in the future? Yeah, like Kelsey is such a nice dude. He really is. Nice, chilled dude. We had a great blast when he was here in my sofa and we went out and had lunch and stuff. Problem with Kelsey is that he's flying all the time because he's on a cargo aircraft and they're flying their butt off at the moment. So I've tried to get him on a live stream like this one. He's always busy. But of course, as soon as the world opens up again, if I can go to him or if we can do something together, that would be awesome. Love him, love his channel. Think that he's done a great job. I think he's like me, but funny, which is a good thing. We have slightly different types of channels, and that's exactly what's needed. We need different points of views and different ways of doing this. But yeah, I really like Kelsey. I'd love to do more with him. Henrik, about how much do the first officer make at your company? Everything included. I know it depends on, but the ballpark figure. I don't know where you work. Okay. All right. So it depends. If there are contractors and they fly about 75 a month, 75 hours a month, which is a good average if you're going to get 900 hours a year. 75. Let me have a look here to see if I can actually give you some kind. There's a 75. I think they get about. It's normally at your start you get a little bit less. I think the contractors are paid maybe like the first salary is about 45 euros an hour. So that's three and a half thousand euros ish before tax, and before fees, and then that's at a very low scale, and then it goes up to I think 75 euros an hour. Some like I don't know all of these salary figures by heart, and they're also different if you're a permanent employee or if you're a contractor or whatever it is. So there's loads of different salaries, but say three and a half, and then it quite quickly doubles. From that. Off that you need to pay fees, taxes, all of these things. But yeah, that gives you a ballpark figure. It's not bad. Like you can get quite good salaries if you fly a lot. If you fly little, it's going to be less, as with everything. But yeah, that gives you a ballpark figure, and it's somewhere medium in the business. Some companies pay more. A lot of companies pay less. It's yeah. But salaries, they like now, for example, with COVID now, no one earns almost anything because of like emergency deals, government support deals, things like that. So it's very, very messy at the moment. The Nuke Warfare 2. Thanks, man. When I first got into aviation, I watched the AM Airlines AMP series on YouTube by Captain Vanderberg. Is what he teaches kind of outdated or still valid? Captain Vanderberg has some of the best YouTube videos. He's extremely skilled, and most of the things that he teaches is never going to go out of style. He talks about like the children of the magenta line, things about automation, things about handling characteristics of fast jets. Those things, it doesn't matter how bad the quality of the YouTube video is. What he's saying is true. So no, the answer to your question is no. It's not outdated. It's still valid. Mami Ramadakaran, why does Emirates say don't stand in group inside the aircraft? I keep traveling on 13-hour flights and it's hard not to socialize. What's your thoughts? I don't know. I mean, obviously they don't want big congregations of people in one part of the aircraft because of safety reasons. If something were to happen, someone gets hurt, or if a cabin crew member needs to get through or get from one part of the aircraft to another, you don't want a big group of people standing chatting. For weight and balance reasons, you don't want 50 people to go to the back to have a party there either. So there are good reasons. But then again, like I've never had a problem when I'm traveling with Emirates as well. If you go and you stand next to a friend and talk to them, they don't say anything. It's probably when you have a bigger group of people. But always listen to the cabin crew. I mean, once again, all of these rules, they have come there for a reason. Like this, they didn't just take it out of thin air. It's probably something that's happened on one of their flights at some point. Maybe someone had a medical emergency and the cabin crew couldn't get through because of a big crowd that gathered up around. Something like that is bound to have happened. And then they decided, okay, because of this happened, we're just going to make a PA to make sure that people don't gather up in groups, and that's it. That tends to be the way that the airline industry deals with things, and that can be individual from one airline to another. Dimitri Schaff, I passed my PPL recently. For the first flight with my wife was very rewarding. Would you invest and go for an IFR for another 10k only for leisure flying? First of all, congratulations, well done. That's great. If it's only for leisure flying, you have to ask yourself, in what case would you want to go instrument flying for leisure? Generally, instrument flying is required if you are actually going to use the aircraft maybe for longer flights, that you want to make sure that you can get to destination. Now, I wouldn't recommend you to go single engine IFR for too long anyway, but that's going to be up to you. It depends completely on how you're going to be using it. Obviously, with an IFR, license, you'll be able to do much more. Like you'll be able to travel even if it turns out that it's a little bit low cloud base, for example. Well, be able to fly anyway. So a PPL with only a VFR PPL, you can only go out on nice days really, and you can't go for very long either because there might be weather coming in between you. But with an IFR PPL, you can do much more, but just be careful. And whether you need it or not is going to be up to you, my friend. And Grand Rennie gave me a hot dog, which is always appreciated. Guys, I've been doing this for an hour now. I have to get up with my kids tomorrow morning to bring them to school. And then I have a full day of filming, editing, and then releasing a video tomorrow evening. So I think I'm going to give up for today. I didn't mean to sit here for this long anyway. Once again, guys, a huge thank you to my Patreon crew. If you want to support the work that I do, then consider going up to, let's see, that's there, Patreon, here. That's greatly appreciated. All of this, is greatly appreciated as well. Check out my merch. There's new merch coming up very soon. My graphic designer Dominic is a magician, and he's working on constantly on new designs. I have one that looks like this, but it's roll, and it's called "This Is How I Roll" instead, which I'm going to show you soon. I'm really happy with that one. It's really cool actually. But all of them is available on my Teespring store, so check it out. And Mani Ramadakhan is the last one on the super chat. Is it easy or hard for an Air Force pilot to learn and fly commercial aircraft after fighters? I wouldn't say it's easy. Definitely not hard. Like if you've flown fighters, you have all of the aptitude required to be able to take in the information and to learn to fly the thing. It's, if you've flown a fighter, it's like flying a Ferrari, it's like driving a Ferrari, and this is like driving a school bus. So, if you can drive a Ferrari, you can drive a school bus. That's not going to be an issue. So most most fighter pilots, they do well when they come up and they do training for us. But you have a lot of theory that you would need to go through. You need to go through all of the exams. There's a lot of work involved in it, so it doesn't happen automatically. But you shouldn't have a problem going from a fighter to to becoming a civilian pilot. That's for sure. So a couple of questions here from the normal chat. Will Scandinavian Air Systems, so SAS, survive this COVID-19? Hard to say. This looks like all of the flag carriers are getting so much help by the governments that I do think that they're going to survive. Let's just look at Air Italia. They seem to be completely immortal. It doesn't matter that they've never earned money ever. They just keep going anyway. And SAS is kind of the same. Like they're always constantly in monetary crisis, but they never really go away. So yes, I do think that they will survive. Who did the drawing behind you? Oh yes, this is my youngest, William. William did this. He started to do loads of these drawings. This is actually like I thought that he had calced it, like that he'd put it on top of a screen and taken up. But no, what he's doing is he's watching YouTube videos, like tutorials on how to draw these superhero things, and then he watches the tutorial and he draws it. And this come out. Like my mom is an artist. She draws paintings, beautiful paintings, and I think it's passed on to him because I mean, even if I watch a tutorial, I probably wouldn't make it this good. And he's 8 years old, so that's like this is another one that he just came in and gave me today because I asked him to give me a Loki one from the Asa gods, Loki, and this is apparently him in that form. So, yeah, cool. What was that? Personal question: how many languages are you fluent in? I'm only really fluent in Swedish and English. Like Spanish is not fluent. I'm kind of proficient in Spanish. I could get myself around, but I'm definitely not fluent. And then you have, of course, like I can get around on Norwegian and Danish as well. But Swedish and English are my fluid languages. Spanish comes on the third place. That's about it, I think. All right, Dominic is here. So Dominic McAfee is here now in the in the chat. So say hello to Dominic. He's the one that makes all of the fantastic graphics that you see, including the intros. And if you saw my news video that I did the other day, he's the one who's done all of the little news flashes and stuff. He is a true genius. Without him, this channel would not have as high quality as it has. So to you, Dominic, huge thank you, and I'm looking forward to the stuff that we need for tomorrow morning, or for tomorrow evening, I mean. And for now, have an absolutely fantastic day, or night, or morning, wherever you are, guys. Truly appreciate all of the support that I'm getting from you guys. And like I said, go check out my Facebook channel, my Facebook page. Share the videos if you want support, or consider becoming part of the Patreon crew. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a live stream on Sunday. I haven't decided yet. I'm actually going to Sweden on Monday morning together with my wife. We have a little house up there that we need to kind of prepare for the winter, so we're going to go and do that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. Otherwise, of course, there's a video tomorrow, and well, you never know when I might pop up. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.